Hello, everybody. This is the end of week 6. Is that right? End of week 6? My goodness. So yeah, I'm excited to see what you all have been working on. I've been a little distracted this week, so I haven't paid super close attention. So it'll be kind of new for me to see when you demo. We're going to do a retrospective today, so we've done those a couple times, so I think you know how that works. But appreciations, what went well, what we could do better, and then yeah, we'll go over issues for next week. So this is kind of the point in the project where we transition from functionality to kind of styling the project and things. So so that'll be fun. So yeah, which pair wants to start off with demos?
Do you want to go, Audra?
Yeah, I have everything loaded.
Me too.
I don't know.
Because I couldn't do anything last week. I was like, I'm getting it all loaded.
Amazing.
It's up to you. I mean, I can start if you want, or do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I am flexible. Nothing matters.
Okay, let me.
Everything matters. Nothing is emotionally attached to.
Right. Let me just start.
Good clarification.
Let's see. Stay. Oh no, I have to open my system preferences.
It was real.
Okay, maybe you start while I open my system preference.
Sure. Would you like me to start with code or start with like the walkthrough?
Either one. I just realized I'm gonna have to restart Zoom once I open them, so let's just like kind of keep it loose.
Cool. You can also just talk through and I can share.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was gonna suggest. Cool.
Yeah, we'll do code today. I don't know. I don't usually do code. So our PR was to be able to add, or AC was to be able to add and delete items from shopping lists. And then before deleting, prompt the user to confirm that they really want to delete the item to prevent accidental deletions. And for some reason, my checkbox failed, but deletion should have caused the associated records in the database to be deleted. So we refactored our UL, our ULs a little bit. So our input is now in our LI, as well as our delete button and the item name so that it all displays nicely on a line. Mm-hmm. We added a delete button and just a nice, easy on-click handle delete function, which is right there. Rachel was fantastic and found the beautiful database deletion kind of hookup. So when you click on delete, it asks you to confirm the delete. Canceling it does nothing. But if you click OK, it accesses the database, targets the item, and then deletes it from the database. And that way we rely on the existing map function instead of like just deleting it from the browser and then having to go into the database and delete it as well.
It almost like immediately updates it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, so I'll just show you, or if you want to show, do you have the, why can't I think of the deployed up as well? And
yes.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, this is all that we have right now.
Cool. So this is what it is. And then if you go to, let's say you want to delete the pairs, and Audra clicks delete. And if you go OK, then it's gone. But if you go delete cheese and you're like cancel, it's still there. And that's it. It was like very simple, just from the docs, the delete with like a confirm window confirm function to make sure that the actual person wanted to confirm it. And then, like we said, when we refactored it, we again attached the ID to the, because it's in the same div, we attached the ID to the button. So then we could just make it, when it's looking for the doc to delete, it's just based on the event and the event ID.
That's clever. I like that. Could you, Audrey, yeah, Audrey, you're sharing, right? Could you put maybe the Firestore console up at the same time so that we can prove, or if, yeah, you're sharing your whole screen.
Yes, give me
Prove that
1
it's
second.
working.
This window, for some reason, I can't add extra tabs to my React window.
Huh, fascinating.
Yeah, I don't question anything at this point. It works over here.
Mhm.
And at this point, okay. So there is our gorgeous, let's see if we can pull it up by user token. I think this one is the HID gent fork, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
So we have celery, chips, cheese, bananas.
Mhm.
We're gonna delete bananas.
Mm-hmm.
And then no more bananas.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. That's great. I have one comment about the code. So
Yeah.
in your UL here, so we have a div wrapping an li, and that's not actually valid HTML. So like you could probably, I mean, you can style an li any like however you want. So you could probably just have the li be in place of the div and just yeah,
With
put the key on
yeah.
the L. Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then your other condition too, like if the length is 0, like that would also be an li. But I mean, browsers will handle it. Like they won't complain and they'll render something and it'll look right and stuff, but it's technically not valid.
Oh no, that's good to know.
Yeah, I can take that out and then re-push it to main and do a test.
Nice, cool, nice work. Any Eddie or Indira, you have any other comments?
Not for me. It looks great.
Yeah. And the other pair, do you so Rebecca and Shane, do you understand how their code works and what it's doing and everything?
Yeah, I thought it looked really good in the PR.
Yeah, same. I had 2 questions. One, the comment you made about a line item inside of a div not being valid HTML. Can you explain that rule a little bit more? Is it just like because it's in a map, or is that just like generally not good to like put things that are like that inside of a div?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's actually at the HTML, in the HTML spec, that the only thing that's valid as a direct child of a UL or OL, so an unordered or ordered list, is a list item. So yeah, that's just the semantics of HTML. The way so there's a thing called a doc type, which defines all the semantics, like what's valid where. So like you can't nest like a head element inside of a body element. Like there's rules like that, right? So it defines what's legal and what's not.
Okay, and then thank you. And then my second question was just I noticed that when you have the like prompt to delete, I was wondering if you guys could like show that code, just because I noticed it was like it's not like a prompt or like an alert. It looks like a modal, but I don't think you made like a separate modal for it. Like you mentioned it was a function.
It's a confirm, and what we did is and then if the confirm is true, then it will do that, which is just I think Audra used to confirm. You'd used to confirm before, right? I hadn't.
Yeah.
We kind of like we literally, I think, just like Googled it and then like and like yeah, and we use a window confirm. So I think it's of the same kind of family as alert and prompt, right?
And it's all built in. So you have the parameters and stuff, like your text, and then I think you can change the button text as well.
Yeah, I think it could have 2 parameters we looked at.
Yeah.
We just did
the
the version.
Are you able to target that with CSS at all, or is it kind of like the alert in the prompt, like it's just a default?
I think it's just default. I think
so,
I think you could probably target it, like if you wanted to do like use a library like Sweet Alert or something. I know people have done that in the past, but that might be an entirely separate build.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, this is a built-in a native JavaScript function. So I mean, maybe what you're reacting to, it looks different than maybe it would on a different system. Like every OS will have a different, kind of style for that, those pop-ups.
I've just made the LI change and I tested it and everything works. So may I push directly to main?
So that line 132 and 135. So that should be an ally as well, I think, instead of div.
Yes.
Related to this, LIs being the children of the ULs, if you have a list with multiple tiers, so I was thinking of like a nested list.
Mhm.
Is that improper HTML, or because you'd have a UL as a child of a UL possibly? Is there a better way to organize that?
Yeah, it's totally legal to have a UL be the child of an LI. So that's how you can nest lists. Yeah, it has to be a child of a list item. Yep, good question.
I was also going to add in, I posted a link on our chat, but what I used to use a lot back in the days was an HTML validator. So you would plug in the URL to the site or whatever, and then it would give you kind of like all the errors or warnings and stuff like that for HTML. So you could always try that as well. Depending on your site as well, because if you have to log in, it's kind of difficult, but if the site is public and you don't have to log in, then you should be good, run it through there, and then it'll give you all the errors and stuff like that, or warnings.
Yeah, and actually in this case where it's a single page application too, what you could do is view source. You can copy the kind of the rendered source of the page and then paste that in to the validator too. Yep. Yeah, I remember. It doesn't seem like it's a thing that people do much anymore. But yeah, we used to have to validate all of our HTML because the browsers were a lot more sort of brittle. They like fragile when it came to malformed HTML.
Yeah, I haven't done it in years, so
yeah, I know.
But that's one thing you guys could do to kind of check your HTML.
Yeah,
I've never used it, and I've been programming for like 7 or 8 years. Didn't know about it.
Yeah, web browsers they're kind of a marvel of technology, I think, because they handle all these weird edge cases and stuff. It's going back to the early days, because it's who knows how people are going to put their HTML together, so they have to handle it all, right? All right, cool. Rebecca and Shane?
Yeah, okay. So I can share my screen and kind of talk through the issue and some of our initial logic, and then Rebecca's going to talk us through some more details about the code. Can everyone, is this the right screen? Can you see the screen with the?
I see both code and your web browser.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we had issue 12 this week, which was, as a user, I want to view a list of my shopping list items in order of how soon I'm likely to need to buy each of them, again, so that it's clear what I need to buy soon. And the acceptability criteria were that items in the list are shown as visually distinct with different background colors in the list items according to how soon the item is expected to be bought again. Items should be sorted by the estimated number of days until next purchased. Items with the same number of estimated days until next purchase should be sorted alphabetically, and then items in different states should be described distinctly when read by a screen reader. So to this last point, we included ARIA labels on each of the, I think we put them on the list items, potentially on the div. So that may be something that also needs to change, just in line with that last comment about like valid HTML. But then the other three acceptability criteria were really a matter of CSS for the first one. So we essentially created a function that takes in the last purchase, last estimate, date created, and number of purchases, and kind of like stores what that aggregate like days until purchased is into an object, and then returns that object. And then within view list, we're essentially passing down what's stored in that object as a class name, and then giving it specific CSS stylings to dictate what the background color is. So one of the criteria was that if something is like, basically these were the states that were described. If something is inactive, like if there's only one purchase in the database, or if it's really out of date, that it would be like kind of its own style. And so essentially whenever you add something and then only purchase it once, it's grayed out. Whenever you need to purchase something like soon, it's green. Kind of soon is this yellow one, despite it saying inactive. That was like a test text type of thing. And then there's like an orange one for ones that I think need to be added soon.
It's the not soon.
It's not soon.
Yeah, is the yep.
Cool, yeah. So this one would be the not soon, but then if you click it and only have purchased it once, it would be grayed out. Oh yeah, and then to the points about like items should be sorted by estimated number of days until next purchase. And then if they have the same number of days until next purchase, they should be sorted alphabetically. That's something that we handled in the sort, and I can pass it off to you, Rebecca. Do you want me to share it or do you have it open?
Yeah, I have it open. I can go ahead and share it.
Okay, cool. How do I stop? There we go.
All right, can you guys see my screen?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So yeah, Shane mentioned this briefly, but in context, as we're getting the query snapshots from our subscription, we decided that we needed to calculate a time remaining until purchase so that, and so to do that, we created this time until next purchase function. So it takes in the last estimate, date created, and numbers of purchases to set that logic. So it takes in those parameters, and then basically it's calculating what is the time now, what is the time since it's been purchased, and then it's saying if it has been purchased before, then you take the time now since the last purchase time, and then we're comparing it against that interval to see, you know, if it's longer or less than that interval. So we're saying, is the time until purchase, it's rounding up for that last estimate minus the time since last purchase to kind of give you the days left until it needs to be purchased again. And then returning an object that has, so if that number is less than 7, we're saying it's returning, it's soon. If it's between 7 and 30, it's kind of soon. And then if more than 30, it's not so soon. So these are the numbers that are kind of relating to that CSS code, and it's returning back the kind of the days until purchase and also the that kind of text indicator of when it needs to be purchased. And then that's being set to our list items in context. So when we jump over to the view list, we had a use effect here that was set up in the previous group to whenever that user list has changed, to set the filtered list based on that user list. So in that function, we just added the functionality to sort the items. So it's sorting on the days left until days until purchase, which is that new calculated item that we're outputting from context. So it's sorting it on days until purchase first, and then if days until purchase are the same between items, then it's sorting it by alphabetically by the title of the item.
Before you move on, can I say something about that sort function? So sort functions in JavaScript, they should return -1, 1, or 0. Like if the 0, if the things are the same. In this case, this actually works though, because we're guaranteed to have item names that are different, right? So you're returning -1 or 1 based on the day's purchase, but if they're the same, instead of returning 0, you're going to another thing that we know is unique, and it's a -1 or 1. So it actually works, but a lot of people don't realize that like that 0 is another valid thing that should be returned from the sort. But this is perfectly fine. I just wanted to point that out. Nice job.
So we guessed our way through this and we came out it working. Is that returned value, is that shifting the index, or how is, I don't know, it might be an in-depth conversation, but we weren't kind of guessed around that's maybe how it's working, but we weren't sure.
Yeah, I don't actually know what sorting algorithm JavaScript uses under the hood for this. I don't know if Indira or Eddie, if you know, but yeah, basically it's probably, I don't even know. I'd probably name the wrong one. But yeah, it's shifting it based on, it's like, here's an item, here's another item. And if that, if it's greater than or less than, it just moves it around. And then it keeps just working through the items until it kind of gets the list where it's all returning, where they're all in the right order, I guess.
Okay, great. So yeah, we're basically sorting the list that's coming in from the database before we set it to the filtered list. So that's sorting, and that was a comment based on Indira's feedback. Previously we had it linked, chained onto the map function, and she suggested that, hey, maybe the sorting belongs before render time. So we moved that up. And then here in our list items, you can see that it's just outputting the mapped list, same as before. But to Shane's point, we added a class name to the list item that is based on that text estimate. So soon, not soon, kind of soon. And then an ARIA label that chains that on too. So whatever the element name is needs to be purchased soon, not soon, or kind of soon. So those two labels, the class and the ARIA label, kind of work together. And then we just created a simple CSS file to get us started with that styling.
Let's see, what was I gonna ask? Oh, so I'm a little surprised to see you doing all those calculations here, because don't you on the list item, on the items, sorry, in the database, you have the number of days until next purchase, right?
We had the interval of how often it needed to be purchased, but the last item, it didn't calculate when that was from how much time had passed since that interval was calculated, if that makes sense.
Oh, I see.
So basically we were saying if we purchased an item 7 days ago and the interval was 7 days, if it was 3 days from then, there would only be 4 days left in that interval. So we added an additional calculation to account for that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yep. Cool. And Rachel and Audra, you understand, I guess you reviewed the code, so you understand what's going on there and everything? Cool. Awesome. And any other comments, Eddie or Indira?
I guess the other thing related to what Andrew just mentioned could be like that estimation of like the time frame could also go in the utils file, just to have like a central place where you calculate that type of thing. Otherwise, that you might forget like where was this at. So like have things like where they belong. But like other than that, I think like they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, great work. Fun to see it coming together. Go ahead, Eddie.
I just had one thing, which is pretty small, was in the file, I forgot what file it was, but you're doing kind of like, you have the calculations, whether it's like 24 hours divided by, another number, and you're kind of doing it kind of like multiple times. I would say like, put that in a variable or something in case for some reason it ever changes. You could kind of update it in one place and not have to go to multiple places and just reuse it once. And then you even had like one where it was like 7 days or 30 days. You could throw that into a variable as well. I don't know, name it 7 day week or something like that, month, and then, reuse that all over the place.
Yep. Yeah, those are sometimes referred to as magic numbers. And so, yeah, the something to do there is to put it into a constant that then is reused everywhere, like Eddie's saying. And then, yeah, if the business rules change, you just change it in one place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Awesome. All right, nice job, everybody, on the demos. Well done. Excellent. Indira, I think you're running the retro, right? So you see you put the link to the board over there.
Yes, I just pasted the retro board in the chat. So let's take like 10 minutes to fill it out, and then we can go over it. How's everyone doing?
Good.
So let's give it 2 more minutes. Okay, I think I can start going over this. So we're gonna go in order for each of the sections. So Audra, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I'm super thankful to Shane and Rachel, who are my partners the past 2 weeks. I appreciate you both being kind of flexible with your schedules, especially when I've like last minute had to be like, I'm so sorry, I'm going to be half an hour late because of the nurse. So I appreciate your understanding. And as always, like explaining things and like being really collaborative, like talking through and stuff like that. And always being down to experiment with the code. I sometimes have a, we'll try it, we'll see what happens attitude. So I appreciate that being, I guess, entertained. Also to Shane and Rebecca for being willing to present on their own for the next 2 weeks so that I could take that mentorship job. I really appreciate that. And also to the mentors for always being there. And Eddie this week did like an entire lesson on async and promises, and that was fantastic and super appreciated.
Good.
By the way, congratulations, Audra, on
That's super
that
cool.
is like a killer week for you. Also,
Yay.
related to that, I appreciate you asking, but I kind of laughed at you when you asked, and I
Yeah.
was like,
That's like, of course.
I was like, that's very polite, but of course you should take any job opportunities and we'll figure it out. So thanks for asking, but I laughed at you.
Well, thank you. And thank you. I didn't want to abandon the both of you. I was like, oh my God. Because I didn't apply for the job. So I was like, no, I committed to this. But anyway, it's fine.
Yeah. Rebecca.
Yeah, so Eddie, same thing. Really appreciate you in the last moment putting together just kind of examples and walking us through async, await, and promises and the difference between them for office hours. I know it was last minute, and that stuff all takes time. So away from jobs and children and other things. So I appreciate you making the time for that. Also, I noticed that you have your Christmas decorations up before Thanksgiving. So I wanted to heckle you a little bit about that, but also say it's 2020. And we should have put them up in March. Rachel, for somehow making our pair programming work, even though everything in technology world was working to get against you. She's like, no, I'm going to do this. We're going to get our phone and I'm going to figure this out. And it was like amazing that you're even able to like navigate your way through that. So thank you. And Shane for helping me upping my sorting game. I had never used sort before. I didn't know how it worked. And Shane's like, oh, we can just do this here. And I was like, oh my gosh, the way I was thinking of doing this would have been way more work. So appreciate you helping us figure out what I think was the hardest part of what we had to do. So thanks.
Okay. Next up, it's me. So first, Andrew, like you stepped up, I think like 2 weeks ago, and you covered the retro for Eddie because he couldn't make it that day. And you're stepping up today again for Ali and doing all the recording and all that stuff. Eddie did a great job last week in the communication module. Like he showed us his work setup and like how they organize stuff, and that's helpful for people that have never seen that. I'm like, I could never show anything I do at work because that stuff is kind of like, I don't want to get in trouble. But that was great to see that in action. Ali's always like keeping us in our toes. Like She always sends the mentors like a summary of what each person is going to be in charge doing this thing. She posts to YouTube, and like even when she was sick, she was like doing all of this. So like, yeah, she's great. Eddie.
All right, wait, let me switch back. Oh, you have it up. I think you have it up. No, you don't. Let me switch back to my screen. Sorry. Where's my list at?
Am I not sharing?
Yeah, you are, but mine's just like, I didn't see it there, so it must have been down in the bottom. I appreciate the fact that everybody's still going 100% and on, completing the app, attending the office hours and weekly syncs. I don't know about you guys or even probably like Andrew and Indra, but in my like experience, especially when it comes to like personal projects or like, side little things, for me, it's always like the last 10% that becomes even more difficult, because at that point, for me, it's mostly like styling and stuff like that. And even though I'm a big CSS guy, I'm like, I want to move on to the next project. So you guys still going hard, still giving your time, the communication, attending all the different things. It's awesome.
Shane.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to shout out Rebecca for really being a great coding partner. I think this time and even the last time, like the cadence with which we speak through concepts and like the kind of like openness we have to like ask more questions about certain things, like even your questions about like sorting algorithms on the back end of like what JavaScript is doing got me more inquisitive about like what actually was going on. I was kind of like, I know this is the syntax of it, but like behind the curtains, I don't know what's happening, to be quite honest. But I looked into it more after you had brought it up. And so like things like that, I think are, I'm really appreciative for. And then also obviously like shout out to Audra and congratulations on your position, but also like last week working together was also like, I feel like very effortless. I feel like we're both very like collaborative in a way that is like very open, and like our communication is very clear. So I definitely appreciate it. And I just appreciate like your gentleness and kindness. It's like, it creates an environment that's like very easy to work in, honestly, and like enjoyable to work in. So thank you.
Yeah. Rachel.
I wanted to thank the mentors just for how like consistent y'all have been throughout with just giving us like advice and feedback, and really I feel like the end game is like to make us better programmers, and I feel it like just being in this, I mean, I feel like everyone feels it, but just being in this for the past 6 weeks, even how I did a tech assessment last week, I'm just thinking differently than I've thought before, which I love. And then thank you, Rebecca, for last week when we were pair programming, where I was like on my little phone being like, can you zoom in on line 31? That was very helpful. And then just to also reiterate what Shane just said, like, thank you, Audra, just for being so kind. And like, I'm just so grateful for your spirit. Like, I really feel it. Like, you're just such a kind, sweet soul, and it's such a nice presence to be around. Yeah.
Y'all are gonna make me cry.
Andrew.
Yeah. I love everything that's been said. Also, just another kind of shout out for Ali. She's not on the call, but just really appreciate her being so clear and proactive with her communication. So that about not being able to be on this meeting, because it gave us time as mentors to kind of figure out who was going to cover what and all that stuff. So just a really nice example from her, even though she's not on the call, of how to communicate on a team. Also, I looked up JavaScript sorting, and it looks like most of the browsers in most situations use what's called a merge sort, but there are, it depends on the browser, and on Safari, they actually use different sorts depending on what's in the actual array. So, but there are cool things you can go look up, like visualizations of how different sorts work and stuff. I'll see if I can dig up one of those, but anyway, just thought I'd reference back to that. Thanks.
now we're going into what went well and what should we keep going doing. Audra.
Sorry, I'm on mute. I think what went well was like we've been communicating really well between like the team and then but also with the mentors, and the mentors are always like willing to jump in, which is super helpful. And last retro we talked about like planning things out, and at least with the two groups I've worked with, we really took that into our process. And so like the first thing Shane, Rachel, and I did was we like pseudo coded out like what we were thinking, what we needed, like the points we needed to hit, and how we thought we were going to do it. And that just made everything a lot more streamlined because we weren't like, okay, well, how does this piece fit with this piece? So that was super helpful.
Eddie.
Yeah, I am muted. So I'm gonna say the communication and collaboration between like all the team members, all the mentors, everybody keeps on mentioning it as well, but I think is awesome when I see you guys. I mean, that's the main purpose, or one of the purposes of the Collab Lab is, you know how to code, you've done that before, but working on that collaboration, and you guys are always collaborating, figuring out your own ways, kind of like you said with that mobile phone example deal you just had, Rachel. You guys are figuring it out and doing it on your own, and that's the whole point, or that's one of the points of being in this program. So collaboration is awesome by you guys.
Also along the lines of the phone, if you have like a computer, like a monitor or even a TV, sometimes you can plug in the HDMI into your phone and it shows up. So like at some point at my work,
That's
like
good to know.
yeah, at some point at my work, like I had to give my computer for like the day for like some maintenance, it was broken or something, and I was like watching some videos, like YouTube videos, to like learn something else while doing it. And I figured I could just plug in the same cable, plug into my computer from my monitor into my phone, and it just worked. And I was like, this is way better. But yeah, I just like remember about that. So I think you guys have a really good weekly cadence. Like you get your peers out pretty early in the week. You have plenty of time for feedback from both the other pair and also like the mentors. And everyone here is so open to like accepting that feedback and learning from it. So I think that's great. And also I really like how you guys come up with topics that you don't understand for like the office hours, and that makes it even more productive. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to I forgot to mention in my appreciation, but was for you, Indira, especially last week, giving feedback. I know that we were kind of later in the week getting our stuff to you, and you still made time in the last hours before this kind of recap to review that code. So anyway, I just wanted to say I appreciate you making time to do that even at the last minute.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So Shane.
Oh yeah, so I was just mentioning, like, I know last week we kind of talked about like pseudocoding and like talking more through our process, and I think like a part of that was like actually writing it down and things like that. But Rebecca and I like kind of talked through and like pseudocoded what it is that we wanted to do to like tackle that issue, and I think like that conversation pretty much established like all of our logic, and like the rest of the work was just like figuring out bugs and like how to correctly use things and syntax and things like that. Like in terms of our workflow, like a lot of that logic had been kind of like determined in that initial conversation. So I thought that was helpful. It's like slightly edited, like we didn't like write it down or anything, but I don't know that that was like entirely necessary. I think the benefit of it still we like got out of the conversation. So I think that went well.
Rebecca.
Yeah, I just think we're doing a really good job of giving and incorporating feedback in real time. And then there are a lot of suggestions that are coming back that are above and beyond the acceptance criteria that people are making an effort to incorporate into that pull request in real time, which I think makes everything a little bit more seamless and a little smoother later, so that we're not dealing with a whole bunch of bumps that are accumulating as we go.
Andrew.
Yeah. So one of the things that's going well, I mean, at a high level, is just that the team is on track. You're keeping up with the pace of the issues. Like the app is really coming together. There's very little functionality left to add. So good work there. I thought the last 2 weeks, I thought there was good communication in the team channel. You know, seeing, there's quite a bit of activity there, and you're all communicating well. And then you got props on your code from a mentor from a different team. I mean, that's never happened before. So that's pretty cool to see somebody come in here who's seeing how another team's doing it and just being like, oh, that's really solid how you all are approaching it. So good job.
Rachel.
Yeah, I just think our weekly cadence, our communication between our the two team, amongst teams, between the teams, and with mentors is just really great. I just think it's just excellent communication. And I just dropped in the chat Hungarian dance videos that explain all sorting algorithms, which my when I was in my code school, our teacher showed us, but it's really fun way to think about bubble sorting, because it's just dancers. Okay.
Okay. So let's go into what could be improved and what should we start or stop doing. Shane.
Yeah, I think to today's feedback, I definitely agree, and I think we can maybe look through some of the components and abstract out some of the things that are or the functions, I guess, that are doing calculations, just to clean up those components. Yeah, I just think that could be a bit helpful in traversing some of these components and making them a bit more simple.
So should this be an action item?
If everyone's on board with doing that, I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I will create the action item. Meanwhile, Andrew.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so 2 weeks ago in the last retro, we talked about using the pairing threads as a place to put notes after the pairing sessions. I saw actually, Rebecca, I think you did it once, but it hasn't seemed to sort of catch on with the team. So I'm just wondering whether if that's something we want to continue to try to do, or if that's maybe are those pairing threads helpful to people? And if they're not, we can always adjust. So it's it doesn't really matter too much. I'm not wed to having pairing threads. We don't have to do that, but if you all find them useful, we can keep doing them. But otherwise, if there's something else, some other way to do it.
I wonder if that might be a good place, that as we're doing research related to our topics, to add links in there of resources. So the ones that's related to React Router, there's a link to the documentation for that. And for this week for us, it was docs on sorting. So it could be a way to capture resources so that later, if we have a similar issue, we could go back to that thread and the resources are all kept there.
Okay, so that sounds like another action item. Eddie. You just muted yourself.
You're muted.
All right, sorry, because I have Lincoln going back and forth, and then out of nowhere he'll just start screaming, and then so I would say more questioning and conversation on the PRs. I think you guys are doing a good job of reviewing the PRs, so this isn't anything bad, but more conversation. And Andrew and you guys just made me think about that today, when Andrew, after every presentation, he would follow up with, he would ask the other pair if they understood everything that was going on. So, and even right now, when we were talking about, adding, say, the sort link example to explain that, conversation, sharing the knowledge, even questions, making sure you understand the code, even the person creating the PR or whoever wrote the code or the section of the code can kind of explain what they did to make sure the other person understands it. I know at work, when I do code reviews, even if I know something, I'll just question the developer just to make sure they understood what they did. And sometimes I don't understand it myself, so that's fine if you don't understand it. So I'll ask them to explain it, because you know, the best way of learning is teaching as well. So you know, I would say that.
So what could be an action item from this?
Wait, are you asking me or are you asking everybody?
Everybody, but if you want to take it.
I would say everybody kind of, when in one of their codes or code, the code they write, just putting a quick note and like putting like, hey, this is what I did, this is what it's doing, or this is the reason why I did it. Documentation, kind of like we spoke about last week, would be good.
Okay. Rachel.
I just wanted to put this somewhere, but yeah, when we were working on the error messaging on the add items as like an additional thing, Indira had pointed out that we like had a duplicate in state and that it doesn't clear. And we just haven't fixed it because it hasn't been on the AC. So I just want to make sure we like get that fixed this week, which is like on me as well. I just keep forgetting about it because it's not written somewhere.
Oh, I already did that one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I picked it up in this. Indira had some comments in the add items. She noticed that it wasn't adding, you couldn't add 2 items in a row. There was a bug in the code. So she had found where that was. So I picked that up in our PR, and then I picked this one up with it because I figured they were both in the same spot. So
no, that's amazing. Thank you, Rebecca.
Sure, when we
Never
merged
mind, Rebecca already did it.
Okay. So this was a great retro. Everyone had constructive things that we can do better moving forward. We all agree on what we're doing great, which is communication and collaboration, basically, which is the goal of the Collab Lab. So that's great.
Exactly.
So we can move on to issues. Eddie.
Cool. I'm gonna need to drop, and so to go on to another call. But
does it keep
comes...
recording, or like will you stop at this point?
I'm gonna stay here until we're done. Actually, good point. Since I'm recording. Yep.
All right, this should be, I think, pretty quick. Wait, Indira, can I share my screen? Oh, there we go. Where are we at? All right. Can you guys see my screen? Am I?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, cool. So I think a lot of you have been waiting for this, but I guess this is the kind of like the styling part that kicks in. So this first issue is, as a user, I want to add an item screen to look pretty, so the app looks professional and welcoming. And then the next issue would be, as a user, I want the item detail screen to look pretty, so the app looks professional and welcoming. So does anybody want to take? Does anybody have a preference? Who are the teams this week?
I think Shane and I were on a team, right?
Yeah.
Wait, are the issues the 12 and 13?
16.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we still need to do
12 and 13.
13, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
I see 12 is in progress. Is he the one?
Oh, right.
No,
I meant
yeah.
13 and 14.
Yeah, so 13, we still need to add that details page. So it's the details page and then the welcome screen.
Wait. Oh, there we go. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm looking at it from them. All right,
12 is in progress at the moment. So that's, and that should be, I guess it's actually in review technically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so is issue 13 and 14 then?
Yes.
All right, sorry. I was looking at it from the top to the bottom. So as a user, I want to view details on my purchases. to better understand my purchase pattern. So from the shopping list, users can tap to navigate to a detailed view of the item. Detailed view includes the following information, which is name of the item, last purchase date, estimated number of days until the next purchase, and then number of times the item has been purchased. Then when in the item details view, a back arrow should appear in the header that takes the user back to the list view. Does anybody have a preference or any team?
Do you want to just do this one, Shane? Just because it's for no other reason than it's the first one.
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's Shane and Rachel.
Yes.
Oh, shoot. And then 14. As a user, I want the welcome screen to look pretty so the app looks professional and welcoming. And I guess this would be Rebecca and Audra.
Yeah.
And you should be good from there.
Yeah, this is kind of a chance to sort of establish, like if you're going to integrate like a CSS framework or something, this is kind of where you would do that. And then those would be used, that framework would be used for the remaining issues for the project. So you might already be thinking this, but it might be good to kind of consult with the whole group about like which framework people have, if people have a preference of the framework, or if you want to, maybe the group decides to like, we're going to do this with just vanilla CSS and just kind of build your own thing or whatever the decision is. But
Yeah, I'd love to chat with us maybe like tomorrow about this, because I know I've used Material UI and styled components, but I've also heard that like semantic UI is great for being small, or Tailwind. I like all of those. So maybe we could all get together like tomorrow or just like on Slack and kind of chat about different ideas of how to style it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works for me.
cool.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Yeah. Nice job,
Gorgeous.
everybody. I forgot I'm the MC.
Hello. I see a
Lincoln.
baby.
What's
Say
up?
hi, Lincoln. Say hi.
Hello.
He's going crazy.
All right. Great work, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, we'll see you on Slack. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.